Kai Zachary Prelado Sotto, born May 11, 2002. Basketball in the Philippines isn't just a game, it's a passion, a culture, and in many ways a national obsession. From Manila's popular city courts to the smallest provinces, basketball is played everywhere and young players grow up idolizing stars from the NBA. Yet, for all the love and dedication the country has for the sport, the Philippines has never produced a homegrown NBA player. Every few years, a new name emerges as the potential first, but each time, the dream falls short. That's what made Kai Sotto so special. Unlike past hopefuls, Sotto wasn't just another undersized, skilled guard trying to beat the odds. He was different. He had the one thing you can't teach: elite height. At 7'3", he was taller than most NBA centers, and combined with his skill set, he seemed destined to break the barriers. His game had flashes of modern versatility. He could block shots, run the floor, and knock down jumpers. By the time he was 16, he was already on the radar of scouts worldwide, and for the first time in history, it felt like the Philippines had a legitimate shot at seeing one of its own make it to the league. Sotto's career path reflected that promise. Unlike most Filipino prospects, he didn't stay home to dominate local competition. Instead, he took the road less traveled, competing internationally against tougher competition. He trained with NBA-level coaches, played in the United States, joined the G League Ignite program, and even gained experience in Australia's NBL, one of the most competitive pro leagues outside the NBA. Everything was lined up for him to succeed. And yet, when the 2022 NBA draft arrived, Sotto's name was never called. Instead of shaking the commissioner's hand and making history, he went undrafted, leaving fans in shock and raising questions about whether the hype had been real. Since then, his career has been a mixed bag. While he's continued to play professionally, bouncing between leagues and summer opportunities, the NBA dream that once seemed within full reach feels further away than ever. So, what happened? How did a player once seen as the future of Filipino basketball lose his momentum? Was it bad career decisions? Was he simply not as good as advertised, or did the system fail him? He still became a professional and gets to play the game for a living, but for these reasons, he never fully amounted to expectations. What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to This Is Berber on IG for this request. It's your boy JC StuntedGrowth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Kai Sotto is a 7'3" center from Las Piñas, Philippines, born into a basketball family. His father, Irvin Sotto, was a former professional player in the Philippine Basketball Association, and from an early age, it was clear that Kai would follow in his footsteps. He quickly became a standout, dominating local youth leagues with his size and natural instincts. By 2016, at just 14 years old, Sotto was already considered the top young prospect in the country. He played for Ateneo de Manila High School, where he led his team to multiple championships and established himself as a generational talent. His dominance in local tournaments caught the attention of international scouts, leading him to pursue opportunities abroad. In 2019, he made the bold decision to leave the Philippines and train in the United States, setting his sights on the NBA. But from there, his path became much more complicated. Stunt number 1, poor career decisions and missed development opportunities. One of the biggest factors that stunted Kai Sotto's growth was his career path. While he made the right decisions to leave the Philippines in pursuit of better competition, the way he navigated his development proved to be a major setback. Instead of sticking to a structured system where he could refine his game against elite competition, Sotto jumped between multiple leagues and programs, never fully settling in one place long enough to maximize his growth. His first big move was joining the Skill Factory in Atlanta in 2019, a prep program designed to develop young talent. While it gave him exposure, it wasn't a true professional environment. In 2020, he took another step by joining the NBA G League Ignite, a developmental team specifically designed to groom top prospects for the NBA. This seemed like a perfect fit, as he would play alongside elite talents like Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga. However, Sotto made a surprising decision. He left the Ignite program before even playing a game, reportedly due to scheduling conflicts with the Philippine national team. This was a critical mistake. Instead of developing under NBA level coaching and competing against high level prospects, he lost valuable time and momentum. After missing out on the G League, Sotto bounced to the Australian NBL, joining the Adelaide 36ers. While the NBL is a respected league, he played limited minutes and struggled to showcase his skills consistently. His lack of athleticism and physicality became glaring issues, and rather than improving in a structured environment, he was used more as a role player than a true project. By the time the NBA draft came around, scouts had more questions than answers about Sotto's game. His constant movement between leagues made it difficult for him to develop into the dominant force many expected him to be. Stunt number 2, lack of NBA level athleticism and physicality. One of the biggest reasons Kai Sotto struggled to gain traction as an NBA prospect was his lack of elite athleticism and physicality. While height is a major advantage in basketball, it's not enough on its own, especially in today's NBA, where the game is faster, more physical, and demands versatility from big men. At 7'3", Sotto had the size to be an imposing presence, but his frame remained relatively thin compared to other elite prospects. Despite efforts to put on muscle, he still lacked the strength to hold his ground against more physical opponents. This was evident in his time with the Adelaide 36ers in Australia's NBL. Against stronger, more experienced big men, hold position in the post or protect the rim at a high level. On top of that, he lacked the lateral quickness and explosiveness that NBA teams look for in modern centers. Today's big men are expected to switch onto smaller guards, defend in space, and run the floor in transition. Sotto, while skilled offensively, often looked slow-footed on defense, struggling to keep up with the speed of the game. This made him a liability in pick-and-roll situations where opposing teams could exploit his lack of mobility. NBA scouts were concerned that his weaknesses wouldn't translate well to the league. He wasn't dominant enough as a rim protector to compensate for his lack of speed, and his offensive skills, while promising, weren't elite enough to justify taking a risk. In the end, Sotto's physical limitations made him a tough sell for NBA teams. While he had undeniable talent, his inability to match the athleticism of NBA caliber players became one of the biggest obstacles in his career. Stunt number 3, over-reliance on hype and lack of skill development. Another major factor that stunted Kai Sotto's growth was the overwhelming hype surrounding him and how it may have masked the areas of his game that needed real improvement. From a young age, Sotto was treated as the future of Filipino basketball. His height and natural talent made him stand out, and with the entire country behind him, the expectation was that he would inevitably reach the NBA. But while hype can open doors, it doesn't guarantee success. The reality was that Sotto still had major skill gaps that were never fully addressed. His footwork in the post remained raw, his defensive instincts were inconsistent, and his ability to create his own shot was limited. Despite his shooting potential, he never developed into a reliable perimeter scorer. He was often marketed as a unicorn big man, but in reality, he lacked the elite ball handling and versatility needed to fit that mold. Rather than staying in one structured development system where he could refine these weaknesses, Sotto often prioritized exposure over fundamental improvement. Instead of committing long-term to a competitive college program or a high-level professional team, he moved between different leagues, training camps, and summer leagues, never fully locking into a system that could maximize his growth. By the time he declared for the NBA draft, teams saw a player who had potential but wasn't NBA ready. His strengths, height, shooting touch, and passing vision were intriguing, but his weaknesses outweighed them. There were too many unanswered questions about his ability to impact games at the highest level. Ultimately, the hype around Sotto may have created unrealistic expectations, both from fans and himself. Instead of being treated as a long-term project who needed years of development, he was seen as a near-finished product, one that NBA teams simply weren't willing to gamble on. All in all, Kai Sotto's journey is proof that talent and height alone aren't enough to secure an NBA future. Poor career choices, a lack of elite athleticism, and an over-reliance on hype ultimately stunted his growth as a prospect. While the dream of making it to the NBA seems distant, his career isn't over. At just 22 years old, he still has time to develop, whether in international leagues or as a potential late bloomer. The question now is whether he's willing to put in the work to fix his weaknesses or if his NBA window has already closed. Regardless of what happens next, Sotto remains a symbol of hope for Filipino basketball. If he can refine his game, improve his physicality, and find the right system, he may still have a shot. But for these reasons, at the moment, his growth is being stunted. It's your boy JC StuntedGrowth, and I'm out.